First, what is Hope Probation, and what is the difference between Hope Probation and probation as usual?
Okay. Well, in regular probation, the probation officers maybe have 150 cases, 150 felony clients, and they try to work with them. And some people do well, they're scared, they follow the rules, but many don't. They have methamphetamine problems, they have thinking problems, maybe rebellious, don't want to listen to authority, and so they violate the rules. Well, the problem in regular probation is the probation officers didn't have any mechanism to bring them back to court unless it was for a revocation of probation and requesting the 5 or 10 year prison term underlying it. So of course, positive drug tests, missed appointments, they would tend to give people chances. And we have very good POs, they're all social workers, maybe 30% of the POs across the country are social workers. The rest are former law enforcement, which can lead to a tail 'em, nail 'em, jail 'em kind of a approach. Whereas our folks are trying to help, but they didn't have a mechanism to have a proportionate sanction. I took over Marie Milk's calendar when I was down in the circuit court building, and I could see the sanctions part was broken. And so I thought to myself, how did we raise our kid? How was I raised? Your parents tell you they care about you, but if you misbehave, you do something wrong, your parents do something about it immediately. Then you can tie together a bad behavior, a bad choice with a consequence and learn from it. So I thought, you know, let's do that with probation. Is it possible? So if they test positive for drugs and admit it, I wanted them arrested on the spot. Go to the jail, we'd have a hearing a couple of days later. And I'd let them out because they screwed up by using, but they didn't make it worse by lying about it or running away. We're trying to do something really difficult here in Hope Probation. That's change people's thinking to change their behavior. So in regular probation, I think it would surprise the public to learn, the typical consequence for using drugs is the PO talking to you. There's no court referral, there's no sanctions at all. And so it's, you know, and here's an example of a case, State versus Hodge. It's been filed, so it's public record. This guy had 42 separate probation violations and had never been referred back to court, because the probation officer has total discretion or control in regular probation how to deal with it. We're talking 16 admissions to cocaine use, getting a DUI, not going to treatment, admitting to drinking, admitting to other, with no court referral at all. And so I thought, we've got to change that. So I worked with Charlene Noy from probation, and I told her what I wanted to do, essentially go back in that 20 or 30 violation motion to revoke probation and give a swift, certain, consistent, and proportionate jail sanction for each one. So in Hope Probation, you test dirty for drugs and admit it, you get arrested on the spot, 2 business days in jail. You test dirty and deny it, you're let go, you report to Judge Alm's courtroom next week, but we send it out for a gas chromatograph test. If the lab confirms it, you're either in denial or you're lying, and you're wasting everybody's time. It's 15 days in jail. And if they're working or going to school, job training, I'll let them do it on 5 weekends the first time. After that, it's straight. Worse yet, they run away. If they run away and law enforcement has to look for them, it's 30 days. And if that happens repeatedly, they go to Halava prison or women's, because their actions have shown us that they either can't or don't want to do probation. But it all starts with a warning hearing. And the first words out of my mouth are, everybody in this courtroom wants you to succeed on probation. You know, your attorney does, the prosecutor, the deputy sheriff, the taxpayers of Hawaii, whether they know it or not. It's now, I think, $54,000 a year to house people in Hawaii's prisons. And I said, but you're an adult, and I can't control what you do, and I can't control what I do. So from now on, every violation of probation, you're going to go to jail. But it's proportionate. I tell them what the sanctions are. When I was on a trip once, Rick Perkins, Judge Perkins, who covered for me, a guy showed up late, like 4 hours late at the probation office. They gave him a drug test. He was clean. So Perkins thought, you know, he ought to get something less than the 2 days that somebody who uses drugs, even if they admit it. So he locked him up in the cell block at the courthouse for the rest of the day. You know, no newspaper, no cell phone. God, 8th Amendment, cruel and unusual, right? For the rest of the day. So those are the 4 sanctions. So at the warning hearing, we tell people we want them to succeed, but then we tell them cell block, you're late but you're clean, admit 2 days, deny, lab confirms 15, run 30, and this has worked extremely well from day one.
Yeah, I didn't know the details of Hope Probation. I think my initial understanding of it is much like the public's understanding of it. We see a guy mess up, a guy get arrested, and then a guy get released, and we think, oh, this guy's a menace to society. He's already been reprimanded and he's back out after the 2 days, or he's back out after the week or something. But what people miss, like how you said, is under the old system, there could be, little slaps on the wrist by the probation officer, and then he doesn't even get that consequence that the judge or the court can go ahead and give. So That's a huge difference. And I want to point out that I too thought, like, gosh, it's just guys continually getting revoked and going back to court. But the other way around is somebody's life just gets thrown away and they get resentenced after how many? Countless violations as well, right?
Absolutely. So people, whether they're, first off, a judge makes the call, prison or probation. Hope has nothing to do with that. If they're on probation, then the question is, do we watch them closely in Hope with jail sanctions for violation, or on regular probation with no sanctions? And so so guys in Hope are going to be in the news because there's so many of them. That's partly the case. Unlike most boutique court programs that have 50, 75, 100 or more people in it. In Hope, when I left, I was supervising more than 2,000 felony offenders in Hope. And yet there was another judge that had maybe 300. So people in regular probation get a bunch of chances. People on Hope get chances with sanctions every time. Yeah. So the question is, who gets arrested for new crimes more often? And fortunately, we have data on that. UCLA and Pepperdine did research. The people in Hope got arrested for new crimes 55% less often than regular probation. It was a home run. A 10% reduction in recidivism is cause for celebration. 55%, unbelievable.
It is.
And failures and going to prison, 48% fewer days sentenced or served. Same thing, that's almost a 50% decrease. We asked them to look at Native Hawaiians. Native Hawaiians are both in Hope and in probation as usual. In Hope, though, they get their probation revoked and go to prison 35% less often than if they're in regular probation. And as I said, because the Hope judge has so many clients, over 2,000 that they're supervising, that means thousands of all sorts of defendants have succeeded on probation because they're in Hope and didn't go to prison. Hundreds of Native Hawaiians have succeeded on probation because they were lucky enough to be in Hope rather than regular probation. So Hope is a lot tougher than regular probation. But there's research out there, and 32 states, 33 states, and one territory, Guam, are now doing versions of Hope. Some are doing it great, getting good results. Some are doing it lousy because they only focus on the sanctions. Whereas Hope really has three parts. The sanctions are just to make everything work better and to teach accountability. But you also have probation officers who care and are going to be consistent. You also have to have a judge who understands addiction, is going to be encouraging, but is going to hold people accountable and give them a jail sanction every time. And if they run away too much, send them to prison. So you need all three.
Yeah, and the implementation is so key when you have like a program, especially when you're trying to get people at scale, not just the 50 person group, the 1,000 person group. Everything changes with scale.
Yes.